This video is a continuation of the AirLogix overview. In this installment, we will cover navigation of the AirLogix controller to its many features. In the last video, we covered the main screen, with the exception of one button, the navigation button, in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Let's do that now. Pressing the navigation key will open a new menu, one with 9 options. The top left button reads, Compressor Run Information. Pressing this button will display a screen that is organized in 3 sections. Compressor Hours, which shows total run hours, total loaded hours, total full loaded hours, bypass hours, performance throttle hours, and the surge count. In the section called Motor kW Usage, you see the estimated motor power used over time. This includes the current reading, the total for the current day, the previous day, this month, the previous month, and year to date. In the third section, the same time-based categories are shown for the estimated electrical cost for running the compressor. These are all estimates because they are calculated from the motor amp CT. If a power meter is connected, these numbers can display actual measured values. All of these variables are pretty self-explanatory, with one exception: performance throttle hours. So let's talk about that for a minute. In the normal sequence of starting and loading a centrifugal, the compressor must open the inlet valve far enough to reach minimum flow, or minimum motor amps, before it can close the bypass valve and build pressure. Otherwise, the compressor would be in a surge state, trying to contribute to the back pressure of the header, while flow is less than the surge line. There are conditions that sometimes restrict the flow through a centrifugal. The machine's health, worn wheels, clogged inlet filters, or perhaps defective linkage on the inlet valve. Whatever the cause, the condition is the compressor cannot make minimum flow. In other controllers, this is cause to unload the machine, and essentially disable it from working at all. But this is not so with AirLogix. When we determine the machine is not capable of reaching minimum flow, for any reason, AirLogix will reverse calculate, at what pressure could this machine make minimum flow, and then automatically adjust the pressure set point lower. Remember, pressure and flow are inversely proportional, so lowering the pressure increases the flow. Now the compressor is in performance throttle mode, running at a lower than desired pressure, but it is running and contributing to the system. AirLogix will close the blow-off valve and load the compressor, past the check valve and into the system, albeit at a lower pressure. This is a condition that creates an alarm and justifies a service call from a professional. For this reason, we display the number of hours the compressor has run in performance throttle mode. Now, let's return to the Navigate button and continue exploring the rest of this screen. The next button is called Maintenance Timers. When I press this button, you see a simple setup screen for 4 timers. They can be enabled, disabled and reset, and each display its respective set point and accumulated time. Each timer can be named and configured from the panel view to meet your specific needs. For example, I'll change the 4th timer to read Air Filter. The column name, Base, determines if the time accumulates only when the compressor is running, or at all times. Navigating back to the 3rd option, the button is labeled Panel View Diagnostics. This function is typically used by software technicians to identify communication issues between the panel view and the PLC. The next button in navigation is called Peak Vibration Data. AirLogix captures and stores the highest vibration value during 3 different operating periods: during startup, during shutdown, and during normal running conditions. These values are shown in bar graph form here, and can sometimes reveal problematic conditions before they become failures. You can also look at the raw vibration data by clicking here. Now, let's look at the Auto Functions feature. In the case of a standalone machine, without AirMaster, we can configure AirLogix to auto start, load, unload, and stop, with a time delay for all 4, and a pressure set point for the first 2. We can also tell AirLogix to automatically load after the machine has been started. The next button is called Dtl Setup Trend. In this graph, you will see pressure up the left-hand side, and motor current, or flow, along the bottom. On the far right-hand side, the maximum motor amp set point is shown in yellow. In purple, the slope line is the actual surge line of the compressor, which is dynamic and always changing. And just to the right, you'll see the green slope line, which is the surge line plus the offset. We call this line DTL, or dynamic throttle limit, a very important part of our control algorithm. The red hatched line shown here represents motor current. You can see the distance between motor current and DTL, that represents the current turn-down capacity of the compressor at the given pressure. Let's look at the button called Case Controls Information. Here you see the AirLogix version number, the IP addresses for the PLC and the panel view, contact information for case engineering, and our intellectual property statement. Now, here is the historical trip data for the compressor. T0 through T4 represent the last 5 seconds preceding a trip. In this case, it is the first of 3 trips recorded and saved for your analysis. And you can see that all system variables were logged during each trip. The large text at the bottom of the screen indicates the condition that tripped the compressor. Pressing the arrow on the right side of the screen displays second trip data. And the cause of this trip was high vibration stage 1. Again, press the arrow to the right to see the data on the third trip. This time, it was low oil temperature. Now for the last button on the navigation menu. The Clean Display key opens a screen with no active buttons and a 10-second timer that allows you to clean the screen without accidentally stopping or starting the compressor. This concludes the video on AirLogix Navigation. Please click on like for this video and check back for more instructional videos from Case Controls. And thanks for watching.